It's finally here. Today is the day, ladies and gentlemen. Open beta launch is upon us. And with that, we have a bunch of new things to go over. They did release the patch notes. So we have a bunch of new fixes and changes from what a lot of you experienced in the closed beta. And we're going to go over all of those now. First things first, they did release, like I said, all the patch notes for the open beta, the changes that they have made in the game. They also have a new known issue list as well to go along with the open beta, so make sure you guys are filling out those surveys and reporting the known issues or reporting issues and checking to see if they're known about. First section, going over expeditions. Fixed a lot of things in the expeditions with a boss encounters not spawning, players getting stuck, etc. One of the things that I did notice is not here. It says fixed issues with laser walls not dealing damage in Starstone Barrows. There was also an issue where some of the lasers actually weren't even being seen by players, and I don't see it patched here. I'm hoping that maybe that was patched either behind the scenes and I missed it, or we at least get that before launch, because some of the laser walls were not visible and you would die because you didn't notice that there was supposed to be one there that wasn't visible. World-wise, made the beginning a little bit easier. For those of you guys that remember, there is a point where you have to go grab the flags off the front of the ship, and that they made it a little bit easier to access those, because it was kind of a pain. You had to do this weird like jump and walk on a tightrope thing. So and then starting beaches at night are less dark, so they try to make it a little bit better. Also, for the spawn rates throughout the world at locations that were bottlenecking players on the same quests as missions. This is something I put in personally in my feedback as well, which I like that they addressed. I'm curious to see how they address it, but things like the main quest line, having to go to the forge and kill the forge master, that kind of thing, early on in the game, we saw a lot of people standing around waiting for like 6 minutes was the spawn rotation, I think it was, and not everybody even there got credit. So it's good to see that they noticed that and they are fixing it. Same thing. They reiterated on the quest side of things, upgraded a couple texts and things like that. Uh, kind of simple stuff. Tech wise, fixed various town mission exploits. They're going to go into more detail a little bit further on in that, which is nice. I have a kitty trying to knock over my water. Little update on decorating homes, so it kind of tells you where you're able to place stuff a little bit better. And yeah, just certain fixes with the NPCs and things like that. All right, here's where we get into the nitty gritty, the stuff that's going to make a huge difference from your other playthroughs. First up, general AI. Increased damage scaling for AI above level 50. Or, yeah, they said above twice. So level 50 and above. It gradually scales from 0 to 25% at level 66. That means all of the AI enemies are going to be tougher, as well as their health scaling. They're going to deal more damage now, and their health scaling starting at level 30 is going to be higher than it previously was. And this is something that you'll see in all these notes here coming up. Overall, the game definitely got a lot more difficult, and they noticed that a lot of people were breezing through things. So, open world non-boss elites. So, all the elites in the game got a buff in the open world, including their health, open world damage, and yeah, so health and damage. Again, same as kind of general AI for the general enemies, but the non-bosses as well. And the bosses themselves in open world areas are now made to match the difficulty of bosses in expeditions. What we mean by that, or what they mean by that, is like there are certain areas open, pretty much like open world expeditions out, where you'll see that there are a lot of elite enemies and a lot tougher thing. Definitely a group endeavor to go in and clear it out. They found that people were doing this too easily, even though the level was of, say it was a level 35 area, just like if it was a level 35 expedition, it should have been that same difficulty, but it wasn't, so they increased all of the health and damage of those encounters. And then all expedition AI has more damage. So overall, all the enemies are going to be tougher now, which I like. That gives a lot more risk reward. You can't just mash left click and just know that you're going to be fine. Overall, we got a lot more difficulty coming our way. General bug fixes kind of going through. They fixed some things with the arenas with the Spriggan, leashing bugs that they were able to kill AI bosses and things from unreachable positions. So what leashing, for those of you guys aren't familiar with, is kind of like pulling an enemy and making them want to attack you, and them staying attached to wanting to attack you even though they couldn't get to you. So they fixed a lot of that where you aren't able to exploit it anymore. Expeditions wise, like we kind of went over before, they fixed a lot of the bugs in there. Archdeacon fixed an issue that caused his mind not to be destroyed when it was interrupted, caused him to skip phases if pulled to room instance. So they're getting rid of a lot of those exploits and things that were in there that weren't intended. Empress Zhao fixed a bug causing pedestal hitboxes to be up too high. So it was, like you said, just a bug where you weren't able to hit it and have them register. Genesis, root wall AoE attack to not reach the edge of his arena. So it is supposed to reach all the way. It's not like sometimes you're looking for a mechanic or anything like that. And then Greenkeeper allowing her, fixed an issue allowing her to throw a boulder on herself and take heavy damage in phase 3. She's not supposed to throw a boulder at herself. Simply put. Gringol, I think is how you say his name, the big guy, boss guy. Undying Army spawners to not despawn when she dies. Oh, it's a she. I can't remember. That actually happened to me. I do remember that. We were running around and you couldn't kill them afterwards. We just had some of the ads just following us around for a bit. It was very amusing. Lazarus Expedition resolved an issue allowing his phase 3 beam attack not correctly end after the target had been down. So same kind of issue where these abilities were still in action even though the boss or the target has been downed. And damage values for most consistent player experience. So that's nice. PvP scaling. Something that got a lot of attention over the last beta. You know, some of the big names were complaining that they were level 40 and they were getting beat up by level 20s, etc., etc. I didn't have as much of an issue with it, but a lot of big names did. So PvP scaling has been reduced. Level difference will matter more now, meaning that it will take more hits for a lower level player to kill a higher level player, and less hits for a higher level to kill a lower level. They reduced the scaling. So there still is some scaling, but now if you're level 60 going up against a level 20, you will not have to hit them as many times as you would have before. Which, you know, it is what it is. They just decided that was the best way to handle it. Attribute threshold, reduce constitution 250 attribute threshold, bonus damage reduction from 80 to 60%. Also a little bit further down, they talk about fixing one of the attribute for constitution thresholds as well. Reduced Warhammer hardened steel damage reduction down to 15%. You'll notice a lot of these are just tuning back overpowered abilities. Sword freeing justice passive will now only remove a single debuff, not all of them. Fortitude has been replaced with invigorating bulwark. Passive will grant 15 stamina on hit with the shield bash and shield rush abilities. So rework of the kind of sword skill tree here. Leaping strike startup frames reduced from 16 to 14. So you jump into it quicker. Distance increased from 4 to 6 meters. That's huge, giving you a lot more range on the leaping strike. And then counterattack has been modified to be able to stack and obtain a better bonus. It now grants a 3% in power for 5 seconds when blocking an attack, and can stack up to 5 times for a max of a 15% in power bonus. Previously, it would grant a 10% in power for 20 seconds after blocking an attack. I like and dislike this. It is what it is. I think yes, for 10% in power for 20 seconds was a lot, but I think this is kind of an overtune in the other way, personally. I guess so at the 5%, so it says that it can stack, so I'm assuming each time it renews the timer every time. I'd have to assume, because there's no way you can get all 5 stacks in 5 seconds. I still think it would be nice if it was like, I don't know, a little bit more. If it's 3% per, 5 seconds is very quick in a battle, like depending on if you're blocking or swinging, not mashing left click. I don't know. I think it maybe should be like 7 seconds, 10 seconds. I don't know. That's just my thing. It is what it is. We'll see how that holds up going forward. Life Staff, couple of big changes here. Sacred Protection passive changed to grant 5% increased incoming healing efficiency to all group members. Before, it increased your max HP by, I don't know, 5% or 10%, something like that. It was great when you had a healer in your party with this. Reduced effectiveness of Orb of Protection, Fortify, down from 15% to 10%. Hatchet. Huge changes here for you Hatchet folks. Berserk duration reduced to 12 seconds, and cooldown has been increased as well. Berserking Refresh now heals 10% every 4 seconds while active to a max of 30% health. Was every 5 seconds for a max of 35%. So that is huge because Berserk now only lasting 12 seconds. So when you activate this, Berserking Refresh means that you're only going to get at most 4 procs of it because it's every 4 seconds, 10% for a max, but you're only going to heal 30%. So huge difference because Berserk has been an issue. Hatches have been nerfed and buffed and nerfed and buffed many times. So this is, they're tuning them back down a little bit, which is nice to see. Great Axe. Reduced effectiveness of Gravity Well, unyielding Fortify upgrade from 15 to 10%. So whenever you used to cast Gravity Well, you got this buff if you had it upgraded with Fortify and hitting. I think you had to hit somebody with it and it gave you Fortify. And now it doesn't give you as much. It's still there, but it doesn't give you as much. And also reduce the Great Axe Enduring Strike damage reduction bonus from 20 to 15%. Second hit of Reap no longer has stagger on it. And also later they touched on the other couple things with Great Axe. But this is just changes to kit right now, not bug fixes. Overall, I like this even with the bug fixes. I think Great Axe definitely made its name for being too strong, especially in PvP during the last beta. So some good changes here. Bow, reduced effectiveness of Bow, Unbreakable Focus, Fortify passive from 20 to 10%. Overall, they pretty much nerfed Fortify a lot because it was very strong. Chain perks, which is like the chain lightning things that you get from like gyms and all that, the perks that give you chain elemental attacks, reduce the number of times the chain perks chain to another target from 5 to 3, so it doesn't chain as much now. And elemental perks now only trigger off of basic attacks, doesn't trigger off of abilities. And I guess it was doing that before. I don't remember that, but it is a thing. Huge update here to equip load. So what this means, whether you're light, heavy, or light, medium, or heavy on your equipment load, big changes here. 20% damage increase for light equip load, and the 10% damage increase for medium equip load will now affect the healing output for the character as well. But with that, there is a caveat. Healing is reduced by 20% to account for this. We want the best healer to be in light gear. So they want healers not to be tanks. They want them to kind of fit that role of, wearing the light armor, kind of being in the back and casting heal. So to get your full healing bonus, your healing is reduced. Overall, healing has been reduced by 20%. Now, if you want to get that back, you have to be in light gear. Medium gear, you'll be at a net loss of 10, obviously, because it's only a 10% increase. And then reducing the medium equip load threshold from 15 to 13, so that's how many pounds it was. You could go up to 15 pounds and still be light armor. And heavy threshold from 30 to 23. This is huge, because a lot of people, myself included, were able to run like all heavy armor and one medium armor and still be in the medium threshold during the last beta. And even some of the heavy items, you could wear all heavy and still be in medium. So it's good that they fix this and actually have it appropriate for launch, or at least for this open beta moving forward. Armor in general, they normalize the weight of protection ratios within each armor class, increase the armor provided by chest pieces, and reduced the amount provided by helmets. Then slightly increase the armor granted by balance ratios to match the total armor provided. So there were some armors that had more physical, less elemental, some that were balanced either way. So they just kind of adjusted those to make them more appropriate. Reduce the weight of round and kite shields as well. Housing trophies. Reduce damage bonus against creature families from 6 to 10% to 3 to 5%. They just found that having that an extra 10% damage across the board to creatures is a little much. Empower and Fortify buffs. Potions will now be included in the clamping of the Empower and Fortify buffs. So that means that 50% max bonus from the potion. So they're now going to be added into that max. You can only have 50% of a max on those effect. Elemental damage consumables. They made a lot of changes to potions. Very interesting changes. Elemental damage updated duration from 3 minutes to 30 seconds and updated the effect and nerfed it back down from 10 to 25 to 9 to 15, depending on what level. They kind of did this to all of them. Personally, I don't quite get this because that means that it's going to be a lot harder to do during expeditions and that. You're going to have a lot of potions. I mean, I guess it's great for somebody who's selling potions like me. But during a boss fight, every 30 seconds having to repop a damage potion, that's interesting. That now they nerfed it down like so much. I think that, you know, that's quite the big nerf from 3 minutes to 30 seconds. That's, you know, what, a fifth, a sixth of what it used to be. So that's insane. 15-ish% of what it used to be, 15, 20%. I would like to see them kind of nudge that back up, but it is what it is. Same with all of the absorption, damage absorption. Used to be 5 minutes. Now it's only 20 seconds. Huge, I mean, huge nerf to damage absorption potions. You're going to have to be popping these constantly during, like, the big boss fights. I guess, like, maybe at the end game encounters and expeditions, maybe people were overutilizing them and getting too much of a buff. But holy, like, that is a huge nerf there for 5 minutes all the way down to 20 seconds. So we'll see if that stays. Personally, like I said, I think this is an over nerf, and hopefully they kind of find a nice happy ground, you know, going into launch. A lot of games kind of do that and then kind of buff something back up, but they definitely felt that these were too strong. And yeah, they updated the amount of hits that you can take from the consumables from 10, 15, 20 to 5, 10, 15. So yeah, they nerfed it all around. Effect of creature family consumables, 5, 10, and 15% down from 20, 35, 50. All absorption consumables. Okay, yeah. I didn't even notice this. 120-second shared cooldown. So you can't even pop these potions within 2 minutes of each other. It's that's a lot. That is a lot. So they hard nerfed absorption potions from the last beta. Don't quite agree with it, but I am not on the team. So, Oak Flesh Balm and Gemstone Dust consumables from 5 minutes 30 seconds. Kind of same thing. Oak Flesh Balm, if I remember correctly, increased your physical protections, and Gemstone Dust increased your magical protections. So same kind of thing as damage absorption potions. Straight up, these were as well for the different elements. These were for physical or elemental damage. Down to 30 seconds. Updated the amount of hits a player can take when using them from 5, 10, 15, 20 to 6, 9, 12, 15. So the lowest level one is a little higher, but after that, yeah, it's all lower. Did increase the effect from 5 to 15% to 10 to 35%. So they now give a little bit more of a bonus. So here, these are a little bit better overall. They last less, but overall, these potions did get a buff. Kind of sucks that these potions are not actually Arcana, though. They are made at Engineering, if I recall correctly. So these are going to be a lot better potions overall for wars and things like that. Siege turrets. Increased explosive cannon damage by 30%. for all those, these are the things that you use to hold points, so that's huge. Capped repeater max damage fallout at 90%, so it will never 100% fall off anymore at range. It now starts at 80 meters instead of 60, which is good because the points and people rushing out of the enemy fort is further away, so still having some decent range potential against them is nice. Siege weapons damage is now being mitigated by armor. So your armor does come into effect against siege weapons. I guess it wasn't before. And siege weapons increase damage by 20% overall. I'm assuming that probably stacks with the explosive cannon damage assumption. Lifestyle, reduced effectiveness of arcane blessing lifestyle buff, corrupted enemy absorption from 20% to 5%. It just is what it is. They nerfed that down, thought it was too much. Perks, fortified recovery, reduced from 30 to 10. All the fortified, like I said, they nerfed down fortified, thought it was too strong. Keenly fortified, reduced to 10%. Mortal fortification, reduced to 10%, etc. Health potions are stronger and yet weaker. So they changed health potions up. Base health gained now is, instead of being 160 to 1800, depending on the tier, now it's 200 to 2400. But that's the base health. And then after that, it scales whatever extra it gives you off of your percent of your max health, which used to be 15%, now is 7. So if you have the highest tier potion, healing potion, you're going to heal 2400 now plus 7% of your max health instead of before 18 and 15. Same thing, regeneration potions, based health, they adjusted as well, 30 to 180 to 40 to 240. And cut that down in half as the percent of max HP. Endurance potions, they completely removed from the game. Don't know why. I didn't see them as an issue. They were good for stamina recovery and keeping your fighters going, but it is what it is. Amber gems, reduce the damage scaling obtained from the amber gem when putting attributes into focus by 20% to make the healer's secondary weapon a bit less powerful in terms of raw damage output for focus builds. Long story short, they're kind of nerfing down healers and, all the healers and potion crafters like myself. We're kind of getting a little nerfed back down, but, it is what it is. Attribute threshold bonus, adjusted the strength, 50, 100, 150 threshold bonuses to prevent the damage bonus from being applied to elemental melee attacks. Only applies physical damage. This is to prevent doubling up on bonuses when using elemental conversion gems. So prevent the things that work off of, intelligence or like those the focus gem for the amber, not getting double procs off of that. In wartime, small deployables, the Inferno traps and powder kegs, now have a shared deployment limit of 15 per team in wars and invasions. What that means is pretty self-explanatory, but you used to be able to just literally hold inside of your fort with fire traps when you're getting attacked. Now you can't have more than 15, so you got to be a little bit more picky where they are. Notable bug fixes. Here's where all the fun things come in. Movement speed increases. Fixed an issue where people had a permanent speed buff applied. I never had that. I wish I had that. Movement speed decreases. Fixed an issue where move speed could not be slowed by more than 10%. Once again, wish I would have had that. Stuck on load screen. Infinite load screen. And respawn at random starter beach if they die before getting to the watchtower respawn point. Life staff. Speed of light upgrade now functions. I don't even remember which one Speed of Light was, but it's good to know that it now actually works. You are now able to jump while in exhausted state, which doesn't make sense, but it is a thing. While you're exhausted, you can still jump around. Cool. Attribute threshold bonus, 250 constitution bonus should now have a 60-second cooldown. I'm trying to remember what that one was. I don't remember what that one did. This 150% bubble, though, now only reduce damage from critical hits, not all hits. That is something that came up in the last beta. The Constitution bonus was giving a damage reduction to all hits, even though the verbiage was it was supposed to be just critical hits. Rewards from duels. Players should no longer be able to get PvP rewards from duels. So a lot of people were just getting their PvP rewards and bonuses from doing duels. and you're not able to do that anymore. Sword, leadership passive will no longer persist after leaving the group. So you'd have somebody rocking the sword passive, had that leadership buff on, they would leave your group, and it would still pertain to all the other members. No longer does that. Wasn't supposed to do that. Life Staff, Mending Touch no longer removes all debuffs, only one. Once again, another nerf to Life Staff. Magnify Ultimate now extends buff durations. I think it was supposed to do that before, if I recall correctly, so I guess it wasn't. Good to see. Inspire will now increase stamina. Inspire, I think, is also the one that gave max health, if I recall correctly. So it's just another perk. Nice to see that they're giving something since we got rid of endurance potions, but increasing stamina is also good for Life Staff users. Great Axe, heavy pull passive no longer causes heavy attack to hit twice. This was a huge issue and huge reason why Great Axe was so strong in the last beta and was almost exclusively run in PvP, was because there was a bug. When you used the Great Axe, using your heavy attack, you would light and then heavy attack, it would hit twice on the enemy players, and it was nonsense. And Enduring Strike will now reduce damage by 20% while in Grit. Bow. Deep Strike upgrade will only increase damage on penetrating shot, not all attacks. It was increasing on everything, unfortunately. Swap weapons. When using swap weapon active keybind, your weapon ability wheel will now toggle when swapping weapons. Don't quite understand that. I read that the first time when I came through. Still don't quite understand it. I was hoping when I was reading through it would make sense. Keybind your weapon ability wheel will now toggle when swapping weapons. No ideas. You use your mouse wheel, or you can assign it to like one or two. I don't quite understand what that bug was. But anyways, Sword. When using Contagious Reverse Stab perk, damage over time attacks that are transferred to the other players will now cause damage. So you could Reverse Stab and apply some of the debuffs that were on you, I believe. And I think I mentioned it up earlier before, onto the enemy. Now the ones that were dot are now able to cause damage. Falling. Fixed issue that would cause you to go in a false state while navigating downstairs and inclines. It was kind of humorous, but they fixed it. Encumbered Navigation. Fixed to jittery navigation animations when becoming encumbered. That was kind of funny, because you would be like walking at normal speed and just like bouncing around. Darkness events. Fixed to mini crashes and freezing when engaging with darkness events. So all the corruption things. A lot of us had issues with that. Where, especially like the tentacle one, where while you were in one of those areas to get rid of the corruption, you would crash. They have now fixed that. Hardy perk. Fixed a bug that would cause you to not be able to block or dodge when having the Hardy perk equipped. Interesting. Glad they fixed that. Fishing. Fixed the camera snapping and rotation. Sword. Leadership passive effect no longer persists. They already covered that up there. Don't know why they did it. They definitely mentioned some of these things twice. Already did that. Ice Pylon. Health bar should now be blue for allies and red for enemies. I don't know why that's under Ice Pylon. Oh, that's right. Because Ice Pylon, when you threw it down, it still had a red health bar, so you thought it was the enemies. That's why it's under Ice Pylon. So they fixed it, so it now doesn't have a red health bar. Inspire upgrade now functions on Lifestaff Siege Weapon. Yeah, they already said that. Lifestaff Splash of Light. Splash of Light will only heal group members as intended. What that was is it would actually heal all people. Like, you could have one healer in an army use Splash of Light, and it would heal everybody, even people not in the group. It would heal everybody within like 1 kilometer or something. It was a huge bug. So now that will not do that. It will work as intended. Already did the Unbreakable Focus buff can no longer stay on forever outside of the aiming state. Cannons. Cannons can be attacked during an upgrade process during wars. So before, you weren't able to attack those cannons while they were being upgraded. They were immune, which was silly. Now you're actually able to do it. It was a nice bug to fix. Hatchet. Stay back passive now applies correctly. 25% slow. It wasn't applying. Animation canceling caused the bow to shoot at a faster rate than intended was being used on the bow. Ultimate Chill on Ice Gauntlet is now applying the chill debuff correctly. Increase ice damage taken by enemies by 35% for 3 seconds. So it's just applying correctly. And the Empowered Strike. is now working correctly as well. I will apply increased damage when target is below 30%. Refreshing spikes now give a cooldown reduction. War defenders can no longer use the respawn option to spawn at the rally point before the war has started. I believe what this is that before the war got going, people were intentionally like dying or restarting and just coming back to the center rally point. I don't know what the purpose was, but I guess it was being done. And damage conversion jibs fixed a bug where the intellect attribute threshold bonuses were being applied twice, kind of what they mentioned with the strength. Added a little bit more of a progression for the end game. Tier 4 and 5 Azoth staffs were added. They reduced the XP for town projects even more. I assume it's even more. I don't know why they would re-put in the update from the hotfix during the last beta, but XP required to level at lower levels has been reduced by a small amount, and XP required to level between 20 and 30 has been reduced by a medium amount. So they made the 20 to 30 gap a little bit easier, because it was kind of a trek. I felt like you kind of slogged down there between 20 and 30, especially with the way that the main quest was and all that. Reduce the faction granted permission for PvP missions on Monarch's Buff, Cutlass Keys, and Morningdale, since they were shorter travel times. So they were just a lot easier to get to than other areas and only granted the same amount of bonus. So they made that applicable. Removed endurance potions. Rewards. Increased the drop rate of named items from expedition bosses. Woohoo! More better loot. Adjusted perks on many named weapons to better distribute. Some of them were being doubled up on. I think that is mentioned over down below. Normalize the perks on all faction weapons and armor. Change made lower faction armor give crit damage instead of cooldown reduction. Cost of all faction armor and weapons has gone up. They removed the auto-socketed gem from faction armor. It's now an empty gem slot, which is nice because it's kind of like, I don't know. You were just kind of destroying a gem there. I don't know. Most people changed it out. Reduced the gear score, tier 4 from 495 to 490 and 550 to 535 on tier 5. So they just thought it was a little strong for something that you can buy. Materials fixed for war weapon styles, war kite, shield, and vengeful war spear. So crafting those. Or no, this is the visuals thing. So I guess there was just an issue with the visuals on those. And fix the icons for a lot of different things in the Siren Arena set and the Drowned Elite set crafting. Many named items had duplicate or otherwise incompatible perks, and they've been updated. Other notable bug fixes fixed an issue that was causing some very low-level items to roll with perks, so it caused players to get green items that weren't special in any way, other than the color green, which is special to some people. So I actually had one of those happen to myself. It rolled green, and I was like, I don't have anything. But now they fixed that, so it'll be common unless it has perks. Fixed an issue where fishing hotspots weren't showing up visibly. Updated teleporting players away from faction control points so it allow more people from each faction to participate. Infinite loading wheel that could occur when you try to purchase something from the trading post that had already been purchased has been fixed. Fix an issue that could cause a significant increase to influence gains for attacking factions after 72 hours. The increase is still present, but has been reduced by about 50%. So it was a lot stronger. It is intended after 72 hours for attacking factions. So after holding for 3 days, essentially, a region, I assume as I'm reading this, you would get an increase to influence gains, but it has been reduced by how much it is. Outpost rush invites were not timing out correctly. They updated that. Boss drops and expedition to roll outside of their appropriate gear score range. Players were able to trade directly by fast traveling in the middle of a trade over long distances. They fixed exploits. Yeah, exploits with gold. Named items do not drop. They already said that. Lag detected state constantly. If they are removed from war roster after getting the invite, that also happened during expeditions. Conflict between queuing for war and playing an expedition player could not be pulled out. They fixed. Seals not working. They fixed that. At a limited number of inferno traps that can be thrown out. Fixed an issue that could cause attacker turrets to be destroyed in one hit while they were mid-upgrade. Pretty much war fixes just bugs-wise here further out. Like, you can't attack inside the attacking army's war camp. You're never supposed to be able to do that. Fix an issue where the war sign-up board doesn't have the correct times, depending on your time scale. Yeah, the geometry, so you can't jump into the war camp. Defenders are now no longer able to climb over the walls. Yeah, so pretty much all the things that we've said, and then they just fixed a couple exploits for that. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm excited. Just a couple hours until we get in. Overall, I think a lot of these changes are pretty darn good. I think a couple of them, like the potions and things like that, got over nerfed. But, we'll see. Maybe some of the in-game, I only did a little bit. Some of the hardcore in-game people were exploiting potions too much, and they were too strong. So we'll see what happens moving forward. If there's anything that you think might be a little outrageous in these patch notes, or that you're excited about that they changed, throw it down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around Aeternum. Later.